before I pressed record, I was like, am I not wrong that there has been a Beatles biopic before? I guess not properly, but if we want to include what's his name? Aaron Taylor Johnson, sorry. Aaron Taylor Johnson's, he did what was it? Yeah, like that one, I think it's called, I feel like it's called Beautiful Boy. Hold on a second. Right, I was thinking of Nowhere Boy, right? That's the one I was thinking about, because I think Nowhere Boy is obviously about, it's about a biopic, mainly about John and Spar's adolescence and his unsettled relationships with his mother and the creation of his first band, the Quarrymen, and its evolution into the Beatles. But I don't know if they've ever really done a proper... I mean, I feel like what? Well, they've done little bits. Do you know what I mean? They've done little bits, because there's also this one called Midas Man, which is a musical film. Okay, hold on. Okay, so you could say Midas Man is... You could say it's a biopic, right? And this came out last year. It's making me think that I should watch it, even though the reason I want to talk about this, I'm not off the press, and I'm even talking about this like it's like interrupting my schedule, which I just made, but I said I have to talk about this now because obviously the biopic cast just got revealed. I think just yesterday. Hold on, I'll check again. Yeah, just yesterday, I believe so. That's when it got released, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it. So and it says here, what? Each star will lead their own biopic while appearing in each other's films. I don't get it. But like, oh, is it gonna be one of those things? Like, I don't know. Like, they want to do it in a way where it's more what point of view, or we're gonna get like an overlap. But I don't know. I don't really think that this was necessary. This Beatles biopic was not necessary, and I do feel like obviously a lot of biopics are not necessary. If we talk about biopics in general, I've always been saying to you guys when I do episodes, like, do I ever want to really talk about biopics properly? No. If I do, it'll be me complaining the whole entire time. I talk about biopics here and there in different places, right? I think I remember speaking about biopics in my director series, but it's really a couple of because I was talking about how good of a biopic Priscilla is, and that's what I was zooming in on. But it's like, I would never do an episode that's like structured around biopics in general, because when I think about biopics, I'm just like, there's not a lot of good ones out there, and talking about the ones that are good are just so, few and far between. They're so minuscule. So it's just like, because obviously I said my favorite two biopics ever are Priscilla and Rocketman, but I don't have any others. I also didn't think Bohemian Rhapsody was that bad, but people obviously disagree with that one. That might be a hot take. But I'm just very surprised at the fact that, and then I don't know, I guess we can't really complain. Like, when I look at the cast, right, which is obviously Harris Dickinson, Paul Mescal, Barry Keoghan, and Joseph Quinn, right? I know all of these are, which we all do. Do you know, I feel like it's funny. It's why I wanted to see people, like, sometimes when you're like, you see actors and you're like, oh, but I want somebody new, someone fresh face, someone I don't know anything about. I know all of those sorts of people's names, and I know them all from different things individually. I said, hello, like, can I have a bit of something else? Can I have something new? Can I have a splash of newness? Because I guess that's what people talk about about Hollywood, and they talk about that in celebrity stuff. Talk about the fact that, like, Hollywood always dishes out the same kind of people all the time, and you see those people in the roles. You don't see anybody else. You don't see people like, I don't know, new and coming actors. Do you know what I mean? You're just seeing the same old people, and I'm just like, they should have found somebody else for some of them. But then everyone's saying maybe if they're doing this cast, I'm just gonna have to try to really hard to make these lot look like them, which I feel like is going to be difficult for them. Because who is it? Who is it as well? Like when I watched the Bohemian Rhapsody biopic, I feel like the guy who played Brian May, who was cast as Brian May, he obviously looked a lot like Brian May, and that's why I was like, that was a perfect casting, right? I'll even fact check that right now because I also know him from The Great, also. Yeah, the person I was thinking of was I think his name's Gwilym Lee, and I think he's a British actor, and obviously he was Brian May in Bohemian Rhapsody, and I think he's obviously the main. I think he looked the most like the character that he was playing. I'm not so sure about, like, I don't know Rami Malek, and any of the others. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that. But I think obviously this whole Beatles thing, I know that there's been like mixed reception. Like there's been mixed reception. But I think I even just saw something on one of my friends' Instagrams. I think that like I don't think people don't actually like it. I thought for me, I was like, oh, I want to talk about this because like as a Beatles girly, I'm like, I have to. I'm like, for me, it's like, I think it's probably like when someone does something where it's like, oh, this is actually being affected by me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I'm going to be somebody who's going to be tuning into this because it's the Beatles who I love. And I'm like, oh, I know that, I want it to go correctly, and I will be disappointed if it doesn't. So it's a bit like, yeah, it's crazy. It makes me think about the Priscilla line. Remember, I don't, I don't, I don't know if I like it, and then it's like, and not even that seems funny, but it's like that was what my first initial thought was when I looked at the cast of the Beatles. I think what I even said, I mean, in this episode is that, yeah, I guess if we had people who I actually felt like maybe actually also were a bit more original, and then, I don't know, that I felt like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I think Biopic going to be like, oh yeah, that's Priscilla, or that's Marilyn Monroe, or like, you want that, but if you're not getting that, then it just feels weird. I'm like, do I think of Paul McCartney and do I think Harris Dickinson? Oh wait, who's playing him again actually? Who's playing Paul? Sorry, not wrong person. Do I think of Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney? And I said, hold on, are you guys putting him as Paul McCartney just because his name's Paul? Because that's a bit weird. I'm like, just because they have the same first names, you can't do that. That's not how it works. It doesn't mean that they look alike in any kind of way, because they actually don't. And I think maybe Paul Mescal, actually, let me even look at him. He's the one that's just like, I don't know. When I say I'm like, oh, he's the one I have the most problem with, but then that's not even true. It's literally all of them. It's literally all of them. All of them is not right. Do you know what I mean? All of them is not right. So, I don't know. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. I'm looking at a picture of him right this moment. And I'm just like, I don't know if I believe it or not. Slightly. I think also the other issue, the other issue people are raising is that none of them are from Liverpool. And I said, yeah, that's pretty valid. You know what I mean? I think something like that, when you do a biopic and it's like, yeah, to fall on that part, that's a bit like, that's a bit no. So, I don't know. You think about films sometimes, like, people could obviously get many different people. That's what I mean. I think I was trying to say that, like, they want to give actors roles because they're in the limelight and we all know them. And so then they assume that, like, because we know them, we're glad that they're playing this role. We're like, oh my God, thank you so much for putting this person in this role. And I knew it was a role that they were born to play. Do you know what I mean? They want us to say things like that. But I don't necessarily think that is the truth. I don't think that it's golden, I think like, oh, I think I'd be happier guest. Like, when you think to yourself, oh yeah, they're doing a film in this area, these people, and you just think to yourself, oh, they should just go and pick up any people from from Liverpool. They should go to Liverpool, pick up a bunch of 4 guys, and they should have them play in the biopic. Like, you're gonna be thinking, oh my god, that's crazy. But we're like, no, that actually is what should happen. Because what do you mean? I don't like, what do you mean you're just picking these A-list actors to play a group of boys from Liverpool? And they don't, you know what I mean? I'm like, they don't know anything about living in Liverpool. None of them are from Liverpool. I'm like, that's a bit weird. And they want me to believe it. That's what I mean. It's like those type of things when films want to feed you stuff that's not realistic. I'm like, you want me to believe these are from Liverpool? I don't believe it. And actually, I'm offended that you think I would believe it so easily, you know? So, yeah. I'm upset that you think that I would. But you know, another thing for me actually would be like, oh, maybe what will convince me is seeing them as the people that they're gonna be, right? That's probably what like you need. I feel like you need to see them in it, otherwise you can't really believe it, I don't think. We need to see them in with the bowl cuts and the black suits, and maybe I can be like, maybe they're close, and maybe it's not going to be as bad as I think it is. But before that it's important, it's normal to have doubts, because just by how biopics have been done in in recent years, how they've been done in general, they've just never been done well, and they've never been like, and yeah, they just never really, I don't know, you can tell it, like, when you've seen a biopic and you just feel like the people didn't try. And I'm not even trying to say the actors anyways. Sometimes I don't blame them. It's the director's fault, do you know what I mean? The actors can only do what they're instructed to do. And you see that a lot. And even for me, when I was on my first film set, it's just like you see a lot of, it's just a director instructing. It's not really like, it's the actor's fault. Like, they just kind of, they're just there to do their best performance. I think that's all you can do. And so it's like, that's why it's like, when you see different biopics and you're like, oh, it's not actually their fault, it's just the director. And I'm just like, and maybe I should do research sorry, I always do this sometimes when I'm going over my words, but I should see, I want to know, okay, Sam Mendes, this is the person who's doing the thing. He's doing the Beatles biopic, and I want to know who he is, and I want to know what he's done, right? Oh my gosh, he did Skyfall and American Beauty in 1917, and he did Spectre, and he did quite a lot, to be fair to him. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So he's done some James Bond films. That's interesting. That's why, you know what I mean? I'm looking at his work now and I'm like, surely this has to be somewhat good. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm scared for nothing. I'm scared of my information from past biopics, and that's all it is, you know? So that's what I mean. I don't think I'd ever want to be like that. You know, when you see something like this and you're just like, because I think people will do that immediately. It's like when we all saw the Shrek 5 news, we're all just like, Shrek's going to be trash. But with that one, I feel like that's different, because we all saw the animation, it didn't look right. It just didn't look right. You know what I mean? But then, as I've said, I already mentioned in this that we haven't seen a first look, right? When you see the first look, when you see the trailer, then we can be like, oh, now we know. And we're like, okay, it's going to be rubbish. Then you can be like, yeah, then you can say that. But I feel like right now, we can't say that. We can't say it's going to be rubbish, because we really don't know. And I'm just like, I think I even just said in my write-up, I was saying how I believe that maybe they might do lip syncing and all that kind of stuff, and that's kind of irritating for me. I never liked that. That's what I was saying about in this as well. I was saying with Complete Unknown, Timmy's actually like singing. He actually sang like a Rolling Stone. And it's like, you want that. Do you know what I mean? I want to hear you guys sing, and I want you to take vocal lessons, and I want you to work. And I don't want it to be some half-assed performance, right? You need to do it correctly. You need to do it right. And then we're just like, you need to do it right, because same with Timmy, you're doing Bob Dylan. He's a great folk artist. You're doing Paul McCartney, John Lennon, Ringo Starr, and George Harrison. We said all four of those people, and you need to do it right. I do think, though, the way that obviously the director who's doing the biopic is Sam Mendes, and I do think the way that he is approaching the film does sound very interesting. I meant in terms of doing it from each of their perspectives. It feels like that's very interesting, because in a way you dive into their stories as people, and you learn about them individually, rather than when you have biopic, which is about a band, and it feels like, I don't know. I don't know. When I think about that, I'm like, Bohemian Rhapsody, I guess. Bohemian Rhapsody obviously was a biopic, which was about the Queen, but then it was like, yeah, Queen, like that biopic mainly centered on Freddie Mercury as the star of Queen. It didn't really, I don't know, like, I don't feel like we really got much, like, perspective around any of the others, and I don't really feel like we actually really knew them. Sam was married to Kate Winslet. Sorry, that's weird. Sorry, it's always me researching and being nosy, but it's just like, he was married to Kate Winslet, but only, okay, 2003 to 2011 is actually a while. I was going to say that's not very long, but no, that is quite a lot. And then, so when I was doing the research for this, I found out that obviously he's done 1917, he's done American Beauty, and he's done Skyfall, and he's also done Spectre. So he's done 2 James Bond films, you know what I mean? He has 2 James Bond films on his belt, and also 1917, which is a pretty good film. I think 1917 is that war film, and I thought, who's in this film again? Because I was going to say, I thought, yeah, but anyways, and I'm just like, oh, like, when I was looking at on the Sun article, yeah, I was looking at Barry Keoghan, and I was just like, no, not you. I just, yeah, I mean, I've said that in this already. I don't think any of them are them. I don't think any of them are them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just the honest truth. You're not them, and you can't be them. And I think, yeah, it says a lot about an actor's ability in order to take on being a real life person. It just says a lot, do you know what I mean? And I meant if they're able to do it right. And you know what's even interesting? One day I bet you they'll even do a Lana Del Rey biopic. They'll do loads of biopics, won't they, in the world? There'll be so many of them. I mean, Lana Del Rey one would also annoy me, very much so, because I'm just like, I love Lana Del Rey, and I'm just like, who looks like Lana Del Rey, though? Who looks like her? I don't think anyone really looks like her. Who has her great perky nose? Nobody. Sorry, but just, yeah, it would just rub me the wrong way. I just was wondering if he'd ever worked with any of them before, but I don't think he has. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was researching. And I don't think he's ever worked with any of them. You know what I mean? Oh, he also did Cabaret? Sorry. I was like, because he did Cabaret, I was like, not too much, not too much on my guy. I'm joking. But no, I was just like, because Cabaret is great. You know what I mean? Yeah, Cabaret is really good. Do you know what I mean? And hasn't Cabaret's been circling right now, I think, with obviously on TikTok, I mean, of the Money song. If you haven't got any coal, if you haven't got any coal, and you money, 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 money. Yeah, Alan Cumming. I like Alan Cumming. He's so good. He's so good. He's so, and this is what I mean. This is what I mean, actually, and that's what I was saying in my write up. Actually, I meant when you look on Substack, sorry, or in the description, I was just trying to say, like, I'm now thinking, oh, if it's Sam Mendes, it's like this. I mean, I didn't know him. I didn't know of him before this, but I'm just like to myself, oh, if he was able to do this, then surely there's got to be some kind of like, do you know what I mean? I'm like to myself, there has to be some kind of, yeah, there's got to be some kind of glimmer of hope. You know what I mean? You say that all the time. It's just like, you think about that with any kind of director. You're like, they did this, they did that. And we're like, so please do it correctly. we know that you can. I have the belief that you can. And if you do it wrong, I will be very confused because I already know what works you have done, right? 1993 Cabaret. So that's probably one of your best. I mean, actually, that's weird. I don't know. Maybe people would say that maybe Sam's best is probably the James Bond films because James Bond's a pretty big franchise. So I guess you would say James Bond. But for me, I would say he did Cabaret. So I would say yes. I would say, oh, if you and I think for me, I'm also thinking about if he's done Cabaret and then like it's a musical and then you know what I mean. He's doing a music biopic, so it's like music is the forefront at it, and if you don't get the music right, then the whole thing falls apart. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what you have to be careful with. I feel like when you're doing biopics, and then there are also ones where it's about bands. It's like you have to be really, really yeah, you have to be really delicate. You have to be really careful because it's like you're doing you're handling a band, and so that means the music performances have to be right, and that means the music has to sound good. If it sounds bad, then you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. And even when I was in my room, I saw my Beatles tops hanging up, and I was like, yeah, my top that I have is actually the one. It's the Abbey Road. It's the Abbey Road top, and I was like, yeah. If the music falls apart in the biopic, I'm turning it off. Sorry. Because it's just like I think that would be a feeling that would be synonymous for everybody, like people listening to the Beatles or becoming a Beatles fan, or the fact that Beatles are a very old band. Then you have people like me who are like, it's like we're, I don't know, when we wouldn't have been alive for Beatles time, and then it's like we come to the world and we find their music and we fall in love with them, and so we'd be upset too. Do you know what I mean? It'd be a thing like people who like the Beatles, who are from that generation, which I know a lot of them do, because even for me, I've watched also the documentaries, the ones that they've done, like Beatles 64, and I think there's also another one, Let It Be as well. We've done the Let It Be documentary. And you know, there's even talking about the Beatles biopic makes me want to watch those again. I obviously recently watched Beatles 64, but it makes me want to rewatch them because I'm just like, yeah, it's making me think that this has to go right. This has to go right. This has to go right. Anyways, I'm just like, yeah, if it doesn't, no. It's like when you think about it, it's a heavy line. You want to be like, oh, if it's bad, then Hollywood is done. And we're like, no, it's not on that gravity. It's not on that gravity. But I'm just like, I don't know. I would just prefer it. I think maybe people obviously would prefer actually if, do you know what I mean? If maybe we didn't just touch the thing. But what I also say in my description actually is that I think you don't want to just be too hasty though in it and just be like, oh, yeah, you don't want to be like, oh, it's going to be bad, this, that, and the other. We just want to be optimistic, strive for optimism. But then I do just think about, obviously, like how I mentioned Shrek. I was like, oh, Shrek was great. It was golden. And then they went from the original of what Shrek was to what it is now. And then, you know what I mean? And that's what I was saying to you guys about first looks and like previews, and you're like to yourself, oh, if the preview looks like that, what's the real thing going to look like? Right? And it doesn't fill you with much hope. I guess that's what I was saying about how even talking about this biopic right now, I'm like, oh, I can't say too much. Like, you know what I mean? I can't be too upset. We have the cast reveal, but You know what I mean? There's no first look, there's no preview, so we actually can't cry. So, like, do you know what I mean? We can't get in a fit about it because we haven't seen anything, right? But if we see something and then it looks bad, then that's the time to complain. But then people will, yeah, I think people will obviously, with this news, they'll already be on the negativity bandwagon thing when it's like, hold on, let's also just think about it on a grand scale, which is what I've done. Basically, I've talked about this in 25 minutes and I spoke about it in, in different angles. Do you know what I mean? I'm like to myself, there's this, that Sam's a good director. You have these are who are actors, and then you have the fact that it's a music biopic, and you're like, okay, maybe these are will learn to sing, maybe they'll commit to the roles, like, all these possibilities are all endless. I said maybe one of them, all of them will learn to play a guitar, except maybe you guys can do that already. You know what I mean? I don't know that. I don't know enough about you guys. I know that you're famous. That's all. But I don't know what else it is that you guys do. I don't know if any of you sing. I don't know if any of you have the ability to rap to play a guitar. If you do, good for you. If you don't, then you're gonna have to learn, right? That's what I mean. I just don't like it. They don't ever want to have celebrities like learn things. I'm just like, why not? Right? I don't want you guys to try to fool me. And like that's what I was saying about how they always want to just make biopics disingenuous, and they just wanna like put it out there, and then they want us to believe like, oh, and then no, you hear it and you're like, okay, no, they're not singing. Even though, I think with the complete unknown, I know that Timmy was singing in most of that film, right? But then I don't think the guy who played Johnny Cash, I don't think that he was singing, but I'm really not sure though. If I'm wrong, correct me, but I said I don't know if he was actually singing. I think it was Bryce. What's the guy's name? It's like Bryce or something. He was playing Johnny Cash, and I thought that casting was, it was fantastic. I said, why do you look exactly, why do you look exactly like Johnny Cash? It's so weird. So, you know what I mean? That's what it was to me. I was like, you look exactly like Johnny Cash. And that's why I was like, I don't know if he was singing in that film. But I also don't think that he was. Oh, Boyd. Why did I say Bryce? But I was on B. Do you know what I mean? You guys were like, I was close. Close no cigar. Guys, hello. I said B. I said Bryce. But I meant Boyd. And it's actually Robert. I mean, it's Robert Boyd. Cool. Well, why do they call him? Anywho, I might even search him up. Do you guys all agree that he's fine? I hope you do, because I do. Boyd Holbrook is great, and he, yeah. But it's because for me, no, it's not like I was gonna say, oh yeah, Boyd was in A Complete Unknown, so that's why I watched it. No, I watched it for I watched it for Bob. I just want to say that. People will be like, you watched it for Bob? I don't believe you. But no, I did. Because that's what my mom said to me, actually. On the subject of biopics, my mom said to me, oh yeah, you watched this biopic for, you watched it for Timothy. And I said, did I? No, I didn't. I wanted to see it for Bob. Also, I wanted to see, and I wanted to hear, it's don't think twice, it's all right. Is that a crime? No. And that was great. And that's what I'm saying. And with the Beatles, there's so many great hits that they have. And if they don't sound good to me, it's going to be annoying. Like, Here Comes the Sun, or Paul singing Blackbird, or I don't know, just one of those. Or even Something. That's been circling around a lot recently, so Something. And I think that's why I'm like to myself, yes, if something doesn't sound right, then I'm going to get mad. But yeah, that's that though. That's that. It's a good thing that I don't feel like I've really bashed it, because I never want to do that. Do you know what I mean? And I never want to be, that's what I said I don't want to be hasty. Do you know what I mean? Don't be hasty. And I think it's always good to like, be surprised, like, oh my God, imagine if it's like I spoke about it now and then when it comes out and I'm like, oh my God, I love this. You know, I think what is the date for it? Sorry, I think it's April 2028. Yeah, which is crazy. That's 2 years away. I was like, wow. Cause yeah, look. This is what. So obviously, what I said here. Someone said on Twitter, not X. Screw that. Um, this person said four famous men who look nothing like the Beatles star in the Beatles films. Okay, and I said this is exactly what I've said to you guys. They look nothing like them, but let's let's think about the more promising aspects that we might get. You know, I think for me, like, you guys should think of me as just the voice of reason, right? I'm just like, guys, let's look on the bright side. Even though people might be like, oh, we don't really think there is one. But I'm just like, there possibly is, okay? There possibly is. And I'm like to myself, yeah, these guys here, they're not bad actors, right? They are famous. And they're famous for their caliber of work. Let's not be too mean. We said surely, Sam handpicked these people for a reason. He didn't. That's what I mean. He didn't pick them based on appearance, because that's what we can all agree. It's not based on appearance. He just picked them based on class and performance. You know what I mean? That's why he picked them on. So maybe we need to have that in mind. So, yeah. It's interesting, though. Harris is the one where I'm like to myself, you literally see Harris everywhere. And no, like, I don't know. That's what I think. That's probably what irks a lot of people, though, is that, yes, it is the famous aspect. It's like all four of them are like people that you've seen recently, even Joseph, right? Even Joseph, okay? Joseph was recently in, like, what was it? Is that a Quiet Place? He was in Quiet Place Part 2, I feel like. Hold on a second. Oh, yeah, or Quiet Place Day 1. That's what am I wrong that he was in that, though, guys? No, see? That's what I mean. He was in that. So he was in that film, and that's where he was as of late, and he obviously was a side Lupita. And then there's also and then there's also Paul, who's obviously just in the sequel of Gladiator. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe for me, I think people sometimes do have that kind of issue where it's like, oh yeah, it's just a run of the mill thing. And you just see the same old people all the time. I think I was having this conversation with somebody. Yeah, that just like, you see these actors and they're just all the same, but there's no fresh-faced people. And yeah, nobody who surprises you. Do you know what I mean? No one who surprises you is just like, yeah, of course these all are in it, because that's who they are. But anyway, what do you think about the Beatles cast? Are you excited for it? Are you not? And what are you hoping for also, if not? Because that's what I mean. I don't think any of us should be saying that, oh yeah, it sucks and we hate it. We should say, what are you hoping for, and what are your expectations? Because obviously that's more important, and it's something to look forward to, at least, of you to think, to think of like expectations / predictions. So yeah, thank you for listening, and see you in the next one.